Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. My name is Griffin. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at AllDayPackers, and I'm joined by my good friend Bron, who you can follow on Instagram at Lambo.Leapers. And we're coming back to you. We're still together, still in person. This is going to be our third in-person podcast of Bron's little vacation. It's actually a pretty sad one. Bron's leaving in the morning. This is our last day together. We're spending recording our last in-person podcast. Bron, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. It's exciting to obviously be back with you in person, of course. Makes these a lot more fun, and I'm sure a lot better to listen to. So,
I hope so. I hope
yeah.
it's better. It feels like it's better to listen to. It's way more easy to record. You know.
Yeah.
It's like just being able to look at you, see your face.
Everybody loves looking at my face. It's a lot of fun to be in person. It's just a different vibe.
It's like we're talking to each other. I don't know. You can usually tell when you're listening to a podcast and they're podding from all over the world. You know.
Yeah.
You can usually tell. It's like they're talking on the phone.
Yeah.
But, you know, sitting next to you, it's like we're just talking to each other. This is just casual conversation.
Just Bron and Griff talking ball.
It's
that's
like
the best thing.
We talked a lot of ball. We've talked a lot of Packers since you've been here.
Yeah,
you know?
a lot.
In
A lot
the
to
car,
talk about, sadly.
A lot of talking. Sadly, it kind of ruined our vacation, Devontae Adams being traded. It kind of bummed us out for a lot of time, but we were talking about how it's kind of nice that we were together because it made it a lot better. It would have sucked if we were apart and had to just cry and complain on the phone.
Yeah,
it would have been bad, but being together it made it a little bit more tolerable, I guess.
Yeah, so
wish you were here in January.
I know. I wish I was here when we were losing in championship games and whatnot.
Yeah.
What do we want to talk about here? Because kind of just a laid back one here today.
It is a laid back one. It's currently 2 a.m.
Whoa.
It's a very laid back one. We could talk about. We've got some news to talk about. We've got 2 re-signings today. You know, we were hoping to get squeezed one last in-person pod before you leave. We were hoping for some kind of news. We were like, of course there's going to be news. There's going to be a big trade for Robert Woods, or we're going to sign Julio Jones or Fletcher Cox. Something's going to happen where we're going to have stuff to talk about on this next podcast. None of that happened, but we did re-sign Robert Tonyan and Rasul Douglas. We re-signed Rasul Douglas, the pick magnet.
As I call him.
The nickname I came up with.
Stop it. We all know I came up with that.
He's back in Green Bay next year. The Packers secondary, man. I mean, where do we even start?
Can we just make
that?
it clear I did come up with that?
Yes,
I don't want
you came up
with
the pick magnet.
You did not come up
I
with
knew that would get under your skin.
Yeah, and you did very successfully. Hard to get under my skin at 2 a.m., but here we are.
Yep. The Packers secondary, man. It's going to be fun.
Very good.
It's going to be a lot of fun,
elite,
dude.
Fair to say, elite?
Elite. Best in the league. Is that fair to say?
Maybe.
I got to look at these other rosters.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, we got to wait till after the draft.
Think about the cornerback room we have now with Ja. Obviously, John Money coming back healthy. He'll be good to go. And then Rasul, the pick magnet. Like the chick magnet. The idea is like chick magnet, pick magnet. We're going to be calling him pick magnet. I call him pick magnet. It's a good name. He's got, 5 picks in how many games, Griff?
I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter. A lot of picks.
A lot of picks, yeah.
Thought you had more intellect in terms of football. But, hey.
You know, you've been calling him the pick magnet for the entire season, and it's like, it's good. It's good because he gets a lot of picks.
Nickname.
But today you explained to me that it's because chick magnet, but pick magnet. It makes it better. It makes it better.
It does make it better.
That you start with chick magnet.
I think people are going to start using it now that we've talked about it this much.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to catch on here. The pick magnet.
I'll force it anyway.
Can we get it in his Twitter bio? That's the goal.
The pick magnet. Oh
get
my
it in
gosh.
his Twitter or Instagram
Can we
bio.
get the pick magnet on the podcast? He's one of my favorite players on the team.
That'd be a great get.
How good is he, dude? How good is he, man?
He's really good.
So good.
He's
not just this guy who intercepts passes like a Trevon Diggs. He actually covers like an all-star.
He covers really well, yeah.
He is a true, really, really good corner.
A lot of pass breakups.
Received an All-Pro vote, remember?
He did.
For playing like 7 games in the season. So, man, he is good.
Yeah.
So good.
He's really before he even started getting the picks in Arizona, that Thursday nighter. Remember that? God, what a play that was. But he had 2 pass breakups in that game where I was like, God, he's having a good game. And then he gets the game-ending pick. And then from there on out, it was just more lockdown excellence. Yes, and I was there when he got a pick 6 against Chicago, and it was one of the livest crowds I've ever been in.
Yeah.
We were at the Magic game the other night.
Stop.
It's going to be nice to have him as our number 3 because he was our number 2 or maybe even number 1. I don't think they were in any order last season without Jair. It was kind of just Stokes, Chandon, and Rasul for a lot of time. Rank those any way you want. But this year, I think the clear order is going to be Jair. Well, no, there's no clear order. It's going to be Jair and then Stokes and Rasul.
Yeah.
I feel like they could get really fun with Jair in the slot, which we saw in the playoff game. I think Joe Barry's going to be a fan of that.
Yeah, I mean, to have three guys that can cover, Jair being the most versatile, I feel like they can probably move him in the slot, but also move those guys around a little bit. The one thing is, like, Chandon Sullivan is, he's still a free agent. I wouldn't be surprised if he's brought back just to be another guy, but,
Wouldn't hate that.
I wouldn't hate it if it was like a minimum deal, but
Cheap deal.
He wants to I think he wants some big, decent money that we probably aren't willing to give him. And Kevin King also won't be back, it looks like.
No.
Because
I think we're done with Kev.
the window to sign him would have been before that cap hit was going to go through, right? So,
Right.
With the void year cap hit. So that went through. That probably closes the door now because he's a free agent. There's better options out there. Like, I would rather have Chandon than Kevin at this point.
Certainly.
We got Rasul.
Chandon's a good player, man.
Yeah, he's good in the slot. He's got experience in the slot. So, I mean, if we brought him back, he'd be the guy I would choose over Kevin at this point just because of the slot aspect of it. But, yeah, I mean, he looked good and at times, obviously last year, but I think he might want a little bit more money than we're willing to afford. But either way, that cornerback room is still really exciting. This will be the best cornerback room we may have had in many years.
Since Demarius Randall, Quentin Rollins, Sam Shields. On paper, that was a pretty good room.
Yeah.
I feel like Chandon, if he gets a bag like in Jacksonville, they're just throwing money at anyone, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would be happy for him. I feel like he's earned a decent payday. Not a crazy payday, but he's been a good player. And he's what was he, undrafted, right? He was in Philly for a while. Then he comes in Green Bay and he's starting for 3 years in a row. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good career for Chandon.
Yeah, he's played well enough to get another contract somewhere else if he wants it, or to return in Green Bay and keep playing, have a role. So he's got some options,
because
I think.
As of right now, the only depth we have behind the top three is Shamar John-Charles.
Yeah.
Fourth-round pick.
They could always. It seems like they draft somebody at some point every year for the cornerback room, right?
Yeah, we love our DBs,
yeah,
especially in early rounds.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, we got all those picks this year. We'll see what we do with them. But
let's touch on the contract real quick, too, because that was a great contract, I thought. 3 years, $21 million, $7 per year. The news breaks, it's 3 years long. You went with 30. I went with 21.
That was my guess, 30.
Yeah.
I thought they'd go with 30, but
I nailed it. First time ever I've ever nailed something like that.
3 years, $21 million. I think that's a pretty good deal.
That's
for Green Bay.
That's a great deal for Green Bay.
It got I think it's got incentives to go up to 25.5, which the incentives.
If he has another 5-pick season,
yeah, that's probably
he deserves that.
Whatever he gets to that point, he'll deserve it. So, yeah, I mean that's some value right there. You think about what J.C. Jackson got. He's a big pick guy too, good cover guy, but he's a big turnover creator. He got $16 million per year. A guy like Rasul, who's only 27, I mean, he's no old guy. He's definitely got a lot of ball left in him. To get 3 years, $21 million to remain in Green Bay, that could be a cornerstone piece for us at a cheap market contract. That is valuable, man. He's going to be good for us, and I feel like he's becoming a leader. He's developing into a star.
Everyone loves him.
Rogers called him a superstar. Everybody loves him.
Rasul.
One of my favorite players, man.
Everyone's, dude. The fans love him. The players love him. Players were really happy. That's what I love. The players were really happy to see him brought back, and Devondre. Yeah. Everyone was happy to see Devondre brought back.
Dude, these guys that come in and just immerse themselves into the culture, into the city, and just play such good football, that's what it's all about. Those additions, you want to get those guys that are Super Bowl additions that help you get to a certain point. And luckily, Green Bay was able to keep those guys. They don't always get to keep those guys around, the ones that they pick up mid-season or late in free agency, just like a flyer.
Jared Cook.
Right, Jared Cook comes to mind. There's not many of those, but the ones that matter are like Devondre and Rasul that are now sticking around for multiple years. That's the kind of guys that we've really been lacking over the years, and now to have them locked into long-term situations is really good for the future of this football team.
I feel like we dog on Goody a lot on this show, but we do have to credit where credit's due. That's
a great, he did a great job.
Great job signing those players off the street, bringing them in, and great job giving them the extensions that they deserve. And I feel like I really love the Rasul deal because I feel like he easily could have given Rasul kind of what he gave Devondre, like a 5-year. I was expecting almost like a 4 or 5 year deal.
I thought it was going to be my original prediction for you, Griff, I said it was going to be 5 years, $60 million, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought it would get.
That's
And
12 for. That's a big contract for a guy who just
that's right.
played the best 14 games or whatever it was of his entire career.
It would not surprise me at all if he got that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of deal I was expecting.
And it's risky. It's really risky giving him that money.
But to see guys like J.C. Jackson and others get less, like get way more than him. I mean, get way more. Like Dante Jackson today got over $10 million.
Yeah.
Rasul was one of the best corners in football last year, and he only got 7.
We've got great value.
Really good value. It's hard to miss on that deal.
Same with Devondre.
Even if he does, exactly. It's $10 million a year for an All-Pro linebacker.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing is the sample sizes that you're worried about. But if they play at even a similar level than what they were at this past year, we will be in great shape having those guys on the contracts for the future now and helping this team try to win Super Bowls at a pretty decent value.
Yep, certainly. And it's the deal is like front loaded. Green Bay is kind of kings of the back loaded contract. This one's front loaded, which we talked about Bron as being very beneficial in case last season proves to be fluky for Rasul. They're not heavily invested in him past this year.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, you don't want to get too invested in a guy who you've only seen play for that one, the one portion of the season. He played really, really well, but you just want to keep your options open, and I feel like Green Bay is doing a good job at by front loading this, giving him that full $7 million this year, especially with the money that we have from the Devontae Adams trade.
Yes, we have so much money. I'm glad we're using it.
And oh yes,
we're
very
really
much
using it.
We're really using it, man, and so are the Rams. So
yes,
really good stuff that's going on. But
Robert Woods today traded to. Let's talk about some guys that we've talked about on the last couple shows.
Okay, so
that are now gone.
Fletcher Cox is gone. The one guy I said was like gonna happen, Austin Hooper, just signed with the Titans for $6 million, which is probably a little bit out of Green Bay's price range, as we know they don't like to spend.
That one hurt though.
Yeah, that one I thought was pretty much.
We said that was going to happen.
That's what I thought. That was pretty much a lock.
Yeah.
Instead, we got Tunyon back on a
that
one-year deal.
That one felt so
with
obvious,
years.
dude. Austin Hooper.
Yeah,
Tunyon's back. We're going to talk about that. Do we have to though?
I mean, we all know the situation. It's a one-year deal with void years, so they're kind of keeping him. Looks like it's going to be like a minimal cap hit, just like a player that they want back because he's going to be rehabbing the ACL for the offseason, and they're hoping he gets back at some point in 2022, which is probably likely.
Yeah, he tore it late October, so
so it's going to be by the time. Some people think he might be able to play around
maybe
week 1, but
these days,
with the way that
ACL recoveries are getting quicker and quicker. It feels
not for David,
unless you're David Bakhtiari,
I was going to say.
Then it takes 2 full years. But yeah, people love Tanyan. He had a big year in 2020. The Packers are hoping they can get that again out of him. But what were we talking about? Okay, so Austin Hooper signs with Tennessee. Robert Woods, who we talked about, Bobby Trees, he's traded the Titans today. So the Titans are getting all these guys that we want. I mean, that one hurt. That one hurt because it's a 2023. Bron's asking me to guess what he was traded for. I said a 5th round pick. It was a 6th round pick in next year's draft. Like literally pocket change, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Apparently we were. What did the one guy on Twitter say? I think it was
Michael Fabiano. He said that Green Bay was interested but moved too slowly. That kind of sounds like
Green Bay.
Sounds just like Brian would do, But I don't know what I really don't know how true that is or whatever. I also don't know if they would have ever even dealt him to us anyway, unless we offered some kind of premium pick. But
there's only 3 teams in the NFC this year.
Yeah. And we have to find a receiver first, but yeah.
Are we one of those 3 teams?
We'll
actually
find out, I guess. I mean, having Rodgers kind of puts us in that.
Rodgers gives us the floor.
I think we're now number 3 behind Tampa. I mean,
yes.
Just sadly, until they
this
actually
get a
receiver. Yeah, I hate Tom Brady.
They were out of it, man. It was a down year for them.
Now they're getting
not a competitor. Now everyone's back.
And
Gronk's back.
Russell Gage. Who else? I mean, goodness gracious.
Can this guy make my life any worse?
No. Rough stuff, but yeah, here we are, up at 2 a.m. talking about this team.
So, what else do we have? We have.
I have a hole in my heart because we don't have Devontae. That's what I have.
I think we all do, man. We're coming around to it though.
Yeah, we just got to figure it out.
It's just like every time he posted today the thank you. Everyone's been asking where's the thank you. We finally got it, and it was sad. I mean, it was
just sad.
I'm happy he did a thank you.
Yeah, he's gonna be in the Packers Hall of Fame one day. It's just look. Here's the reality, right? He's 29 years old. And in my opinion, if you ask me this question, I will tell you, I think he just kind of ended the peak of his career personally. I think he did it himself, and that's by going to the Raiders, he just squashed pretty much any chance he has of winning a Super Bowl. How shocking would it be if the Raiders won the Super Bowl next year?
That would be pretty shocking.
Especially in that division, right?
Yes.
He kind of ended his chance at, like, getting any greater.
He did.
Right? Without Aaron Rodgers,
I feel
he's
like
not going to get any better.
He can't get any better, right?
That's
like,
the
he's
problem.
Been so absurdly good these past 2 seasons.
So what is he going to do? Maybe stay with the Raiders for maybe 3 years, maybe 4, maybe more, or maybe he comes back to Green Bay down the line,
That would be nice.
But regardless, he's going to be a Packer for life because there's no scenario in which he gets better. And he's 29, right? If most receivers play into maybe at their latest, the 35 range or whatever. But that's only 6 years from now. He's been in Green Bay for 8 years. He'd have to do a lot of different things, including winning a Super Bowl to get anywhere outside of the Green Bay point of view from a legacy perspective, I feel like. So, look,
that'd be big for a receiver, too, because receivers, they usually don't have the rings. They have the stats, but they don't have the rings unless you're Jerry Rice. But.
So he now put himself in a position where he's going to be not as highly regarded just because he's not playing with Aaron Rodgers. I just feel like there's no scenario in which he gets better or continues to grow.
I don't like that offense for him either.
No, it's just there's
like, when has Bill Belichick ever had a number one receiver like that?
Yeah, it's a little different. I mean, Josh McDaniels now being there, and that's a lot of like screen passes and stuff. A lot of short
which Devontae's very good at.
Yeah,
Devontae's a very talented receiver.
We know he's going to play well and everything else, but he's not getting younger. He's 29 years old, right? Like, it's not like he's going to completely like find a new fountain of youth or anything in Las Vegas with a worse quarterback and probably a not as good scheme for his skill set.
Definitely not as good a scheme.
Especially, I mean, when you're getting targeted 20 times a game in Green Bay, you're not going to get more.
Now he's splitting targets too with Renfro and Waller.
How is he going to get better stats, or how is he going to have a better chance to win?
I think he saw the opportunity to play with his best friend and play for the team he loved growing up, so he took it. And so this is another thing that I wanted to talk about. I'm glad I remember this. So Rappaport tweets today, or yesterday, I don't know. I don't know what day it is. He tweets that if we had offered Devontae the contract last spring, he'd probably be a Packer by now. And that's exactly what I can see happening. Because do you remember Rodgers last summer when he comes back, he has the big press conference? Didn't he say something about how it's kind of ridiculous that they're lowballing you, they lowball you, and then you threaten to leave and they throw all this money at you? Didn't he mention that?
Yeah, he did. I mean, that's it's insulting.
It sounds like that's exactly what happened to Devontae.
Yeah,
it's insulting.
Nobody wants that. Like, now you want me, you won't give it to me when I deserve it just for being here, but until I threaten to leave or not come back or get to a point where I feel a certain type of way about wanting to be in Green Bay, which he did not anymore, obviously. You get to that point. It should have never gotten that far, but that's how Brian operates, obviously. We've seen it happen to Z, where he had no interest in coming back, and who knows what's going on with that now, but he had no interest in coming back at a certain time. And with Rodgers, we saw that, and somehow that got rebuilt because of Rodgers' loyalty to the team and the fans and the city and everything else, regardless of what goes on in the front office. And then now Devontae. And it's just the history of the separations between the player and the organization has been so brutal. This is not going to make Rodgers...
It's about the people.
It's supposed to be about the people. Rodgers' whole entire thing was about the way that players exiting Green Bay, how they were treated. Devontae forced himself out because of this front office and the way that they operate. And this is what Rodgers wanted fixed. I really want to know what he has to say about this whole thing, and I'm interested to see what his reactions are. God, I would love to hear him
talk, dude. What does he think? What is his opinion on this? Whose side is he on? Is there a side to be taken?
He's now locked in with this organization for the next 3 years plus.
It doesn't seem like Devontae is holding a grudge against the front office, though.
You know what I'm scared of? I'm scared that Rodgers wasn't expecting Devontae to request a trade or leave and get traded, and now Rodgers may just want to play this 1 year out and retire. I'm afraid that he's going to kind of coast through this year, unhappy without his best target.
Dude. That would be bad.
Unhappy without Devontae. And
knowing
then,
he has no options now because he already signed the deal.
exactly, and then maybe get complacent and just like want to retire because
2018-esque, knowing Mike's on the way out.
I'm afraid of that. They have to show him like we have a chance to win by acquiring the right talent to get excited.
Yeah.
If he's rolling out there with MVS and Lazard again, like as we, come on, man, we can't.
God,
that is uninspiring for the fans.
Who does that
the
excite?
city. Who does that excite? Especially not Aaron. Aaron will coast through this year. We'll get to 10 wins, whatever. We'll win the division, and then we will, who knows what. Maybe he'll turn it up in the playoffs, but it will not be a fun year. And I'm afraid that he's going to coast.
This kind of leads to something else that I wanted to talk about today. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, Bron. There is a scenario where moving off of the best receiver in the NFL isn't going to make your team better. But regardless of the contract, it's just, your team's getting worse when you lose that kind of player. But there is a scenario where, I don't know, the team has more success. Maybe that happens. Because everyone knows, Aaron gets eyes for Devontae, which we can literally argue if that's a good or bad thing. Because that's not inherently a bad thing, I don't think.
No.
Wanting to throw to the best receiver in the entire world. That's not a bad thing.
No.
But it has proven to be negative at some points. As, makes sense. It's going to happen.
We've talked about this. I feel like the only way that this comes out in a scenario where we are a better football team, which sounds like a stupid notion in and of itself, but like when you talk about a better football team overall is when, I've talked about this a million times, you need to have multiple talented guys. Like you can have a guy maybe like half as good as Devontae, which is really good. Like you're talking about like DK Metcalf kind of thing. Like in terms of the developed connection with Aaron, it won't be there, right? But you got a talented guy. DK we just throw around. Who knows if he's available, but that's just a guy, right? You get DK, you add Will Fuller, you get a draft pick, then you have MVS and Cobb and Lazard. Like that's a lot of talent in one room, which we've never had until I say never had with this current Rodgers era.
Yeah.
Past 2011.
Yeah.
Just haven't
with
had
Matt
it.
LaFleur. Matt
Right.
LaFleur's never had
Matt
that.
LaFleur's never had. Oh
receiver.
my goodness, Matt LaFleur's never had anything close. I mean, not even a little bit. It's just been Devontae and a bunch of guys, undrafted, unremarkable, unspectacular, just like guys that he's had to work with. I'd love to see him get a few chess pieces instead of just the one queen, Devontae Adams.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving all over the board.
And we have the money now. We have the cap room. And I don't know, because I see people saying that if we get MVS back, then we've got our speed guy, and we have Cobb to put in the slot, Amari behind Cobb, mix him in with some packages. Now we just need to draft somebody to replace what Devontae had.
That's ridiculous.
It's just the same thing that we already had, but
except
worse
a little
now.
worse, a lot worse.
A lot worse now, because you're replacing Devontae with a rookie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see that. I don't see how that makes us. I don't understand how that maintains or enhances this roster. And we have Rodgers. He's gonna be. How old is he gonna be? He's turning 39 this year.
He's gonna be 39 in December. So.
I mean, the Packers are wasting Rodgers' prime is kind of like a buzz phrase these days, but like that would be almost like wasting a year of Rodgers that we fought so hard for to get him back. We don't know when this guy's gonna retire. Like that kind of
they can't
lateral
bank on this. They can't,
downward move is just not going to be good. So here's the theory I kind of broke down to you. I'm going to try and put this into words. So the Packers are 7-0 without Devontae Adams since Matt LaFleur got the job. Aaron has proven to play very well without Devontae Adams, and people argue that he's a better quarterback when he doesn't have Devontae Adams because he trusts the scheme more and he plays within the offense. Here's my theory with that. The Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010 with the best receiving core that Rodgers has ever had in his entire career. Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, James Jones, all those guys. So all those guys are on a, let's say a level 3 level 3 being elite. All those guys are on level 3, right? He doesn't have one guy that he favors. He's not looking, pre-snap, he's not looking at just one guy because he trusts him to get open, whereas all the other guys are, maybe they'll get open. If they are, I'll throw to him, but probably not going to get open. All those guys he trusts to get open. Now, we fast forward to 2019, 2020, 2021, where he's got Devontae, who's a level 3 guy, and then he's got MVS, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb at 31. Like, those guys are all level 2, level 1. Like, they're good to they're average to good, you know. So he's got Devontae, who he's looking at every single snap, and he's going to trust to get open. And he's got all these other guys who he just doesn't trust as much. So I think the solution here is that when you take away Devontae, all he has are these level 2 and level 1 guys. He trusts them all equally. So he's going to play within the offense, and he's going to just throw to the open guy. But when you have Devontae, he's going to more often than not look towards Devontae because he trusts him to get open. So I think you either have a bunch of level 2 and level 1 guys and just have Aaron play within Matt LaFleur's offense, throw to the open guy, or the better solution, if we had Devontae Adams still, and I still think this can get done, is get a bunch of level 3 guys like we used to have with that Super Bowl team. And I feel like we wasted years where we could have done that with Devontae. We could have drafted someone to put alongside him. We could have signed someone in free agency, or we could have traded someone, made a Super Bowl move. I feel like we wasted an opportunity to get a really good core while we had the best guy in the league. Because if we had other guys who were not at Devontae's level, but near Devontae's level, I don't think Aaron would have fell for the trap of looking at Devontae on every single snap in a playoff game.
And the excuse for not getting those guys has always been the money. Oh, we don't know. Devontae is getting paid this much. Rodgers, all this. We don't have enough money to be attributing that kind of assets to the position. Now they've dumped all that assets because Devontae's gone and the money he was making is gone off the books. So they have no excuse to not add multiple guys in whether it's free agency. I'm not expecting because of this, the organization has no experience doing this, but I am hoping for at least 2 guys to be acquired in either free agency or a trade, and then we look at the draft. But we need those guys, those veterans to come in, and we have the money. Like I said, I already said before this Devontae deal, I have no interest in discussing money. I'm done with the money because we have money. Everybody is making moves that that have nothing. It's like the money doesn't even exist.
The Rams are signing Allen Robinson.
The Rams signed Allen Robinson for $15 million a year, $15.5, and they had negative cap space at this time.
The rich get richer.
It doesn't make any sense. So now, if we have money, if we have cap space, I don't even care if we do or don't, but we do. We have the space to sign these guys for, like I said, all the cap geniuses out there that want to start adding the dollars and cents together. They've got plenty of money to go around now, and it's time to start using it on guys.
Our highest paid receiver is making what, $4 million? Alan Lazard? I think he's our highest paid guy.
Well, goodness gracious, we have money. That we're allocating nothing to that position. It's time to go get a guy and multiple. Now, get 2 guys, draft a guy in the first or second. In fact, Griff, let's go to the post that I made and let's discuss this a little bit.
All right, let's discuss.
It's a good outline. So, for example, we're going to have 2 options for a wide receiver core going into this season, and here are the 2 examples. So, number 1. If we were to trade for DK Metcalf, right? That's a guy that, look, in Seattle, they're not competing right now if they have Drew Lock at quarterback. They might be open for business on some of these guys. They cut Bobby Wagner, right? Maybe we go out and make a trade for him. Maybe we give up a second-round pick. Maybe we give up a first-round pick, whatever the case is. So it would be DK Metcalf. We sign Marquez Valdez-Scantling back, and we draft a receiver in the second round. And then we have Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Amari Rodgers rounding out the top 6. So that's DK Metcalf, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and a second-round pick. Versus the number 2 core here, we'd have Julio Jones, signing Julio, former number 1 receiver in the league at a certain time, older now, but could recapture some of that with a quarterback that he's never played with of the caliber of Aaron Rodgers. So he's never had that. Could recapture some magic in the remaining of his career.
I would still like that signing, even though on the last pod we said it's not as beneficial because we don't have Devontae and Julio would kind of have to be the number 1 guy. I would still like that signing.
He still could be if
it's a body who's good.
Yeah, people respect him at least.
Yes.
No offense, I'm not going to call out a name. Nobody respects some of these guys that are on our roster as a true
they're not
threat.
Like
a
they're
young
just guys.
If a young corner sees Julio Jones across from him, that is a legitimate thing. Any defensive coordinator that sees Julio is going to treat him like Julio Jones. That's important. That's valuable.
I love Allen Lazard. I love Marquez.
Yeah, we love these guys,
but it's like
not.
They're role players.
No, they're role players.
Aaron says this any chance he gets. Like it's not. They don't bring anything special to the table except Lazard's run blocking, which he's very good at.
He's a good run blocker, but we're trying to catch some passes too.
Yes.
So number 2, we're talking about signing Julio to whatever deal, right? Signing Will Fuller as well. So now we've got 2 free agent signings.
This already feels like a pipe dream.
Right. That's what we're in dreamland on this podcast, if you don't
we're
recall.
We're in a dreamland, man.
But and then we would draft a receiver in the first round as opposed to the second round in the number 1 scenario. And then, of course, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Amari Rodgers. I'll repeat them again, Griff, and then I'm going to ask you which one you prefer.
Okay.
So DK Metcalf, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and a second-round pick.
That's option 1.
That's option 1. And number 2, Julio Jones, Will Fuller, and a first-round pick.
I think the clear and obvious one is option 2. What are people commenting? Is it 50-50?
It's very tight. It's a 50-50
I feel like the clear and
race.
obvious one is option 2.
We've got
option
so
1.
far 429 comments on this post, by the way, which is a lot of people weighing
You don't
in.
have percentages here, do you?
No, I will put up a poll tomorrow.
Okay.
In the morning.
Yeah, good idea. I feel like the benefit of option 1 is DK. Young guy, hasn't hit his prime yet, and he's got blue hair. I'm just kidding. But I feel like that's the
and
only
he wears
thing.
a pacifier.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best thing about option 1 because you're getting the second round pick, and it's like who else goes along with DK? Oh,
So
MVS. You're bringing back MVS.
You're bringing back MVS as part of the deal. So some people will be like, "Oh, I don't want MVS back," so that kind of takes it away.
I feel like we fall into that camp. Let's clarify. We love MVS. We love him, but
I love MVS.
I'm
man.
not willing. If I'm Brian Gutekunst, I'm not willing to give him $10 million.
I'm also not willing to have him as my receiver 2 anymore.
No, I'm just, come. His best year, 2020, he was good. He had a great year. He caught the ball more often than he dropped it, but he did drop it a lot. He didn't have a drop in 2021. That was very nice. But
He
it's
barely
like
played. He had 400 yards.
He had a bunch of injuries. That's why like people are talking about him getting this 1-year prove-it deal. It's because he was so injured and he didn't have a great year in 2021. I'm hoping he gets a bag elsewhere away from Green Bay.
Come on, man. Like,
Because
he's not for us anymore. His time with us, it just doesn't make sense.
It's time for him to go to Jacksonville.
He doesn't have Devontae taking double teams from him.
No.
He's going to get a lot of attention deep.
This is the thing I was saying about these guys not being special. MVS, he is very fast, and he can run straight down the field. He doesn't have a super developed route tree. Obviously doesn't have the best hands in the world. What is he bringing to the table other than speed? Admittedly, the Packers have no speed in that room at all.
None.
So that's a benefit. But I feel like we can find someone. This is the fastest wide receiver class
Draft
ever,
literally,
right?
Let's say, don't even like. You could just hypothetically get a guy in the 5th round that runs a 4.3 something.
We got MVS in what, the 6th round?
Yes.
5th round.
Whatever. I mean, the guys, we picked him up in the late rounds of the draft. If they're, what makes sense there? They make these theories about drafting guys in the 5th and 6th round and having success doing it, like MVS, who was, like you said, 5th round pick, right? Why can't they just go and do that again? Why would we go and spend $10 million on a guy like that when we can just go and do it again?
I hate to be mean, but the only thing MVS is bringing to the table is making defenses worry about the deep ball. He's making them have to cover 40 yards down the field. Because otherwise, without MVS, it's true, we have no one who threatens you deep. There's not one guy who threatens, even Devontae. He's not threatening you deep.
Exactly. That's why Will Fuller, being a part of this other side, is
Will
important.
Fuller, that is an upgrade. He brings a route tree to the table. He brings actual dynamic play to the table. I feel like Will Fuller, admittedly, has struggled staying healthy, missed all of last year.
But so has MVS.
But so is MVS, yes. So I feel like Will Fuller is a very good signing. I think he'd be great for Green Bay. Really.
And then when you look at the draft, I mean, to not get a receiver in the 1st round after this debacle would be quite devastating.
Can you imagine? At that point, they're trolling us. At that point, they are trying to make us angry.
That would be tough to swallow.
Us, me and you, specifically.
Yeah, they would be probably. I mean, what a kick square in the you know what that would be. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
That would make me sick.
Yeah.
That would make me sick. Regardless of what they do, frankly, I don't care if they go out and sign every free agent wide receiver on the block. They need to draft one in the 1st round.
Yeah, they have to.
I mean, they have no choice here. Who's under contract after this year?
No.
Nobody, dude.
Amari.
That's it. That's literally it. So, okay, so let's look at my comment section.
Who's the guy I said earlier? Can you remember?
Oh, gosh. Rico Gafford.
Yes.
I'm sure literally no one has ever heard of the name I just spewed out of my mouth. So, I mean, that's wide receiver 2 right now, guys. So, that's wide receiver 2 is a guy. Rico Gafford is a guy you've never heard of. Literally never. None of you have ever. Not a single person listening to this podcast has ever heard of Rico Gafford. And he is our wide receiver 2 currently, I would say, probably. So, it's not going to be fun. But here, let's go to the top comment. 80 likes on this comment. Says, DK and MVS for sure, so that option 1. He says, Julio hasn't been the same since the Super Bowl, and Will Fuller is always injured / suspended, missing a ton of games, plus Metcalf is young and explosive. So there is okay, so think about...
I get that.
Yeah, I get it. Obviously, Metcalf is... If we were to get DK Metcalf, this is all hypothetical, but if we were to get him, Man, that would be that's a really good pickup. I don't know what we'd have to give up. He was a former second round pick, but he's a good player. He's kind of blossoming. I feel like his athleticism is off the charts. That's stuff that I thought Green Bay would really be interested in the draft. They just passed on him, even though he had one of the best combines ever. Right? I feel like he'd be a really interesting guy to put with Rodgers and big target.
I feel like he's not super happy in Seattle either.
No, who wants
They
to
did not use him very well.
Who wants to? And now he's not even having Russ
Now
there.
he's playing for Drew Lock.
I guarantee you he would have no problem coming to Green Bay and then playing
He'd
with
probably
us.
love it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like
Same
the
thing with
weather is
Tyler
that big of a
Lockett.
deal.
I feel like Tyler Lockett too would be a good fit. He's the other guy. You just look at
Would love Lockett, yeah.
The situation in Seattle is this. First of all, we traded with them, if I'm not mistaken, to get that Jordan Love pick with the fourth round. Did we not trade up with them?
With Seattle, yes,
Yeah,
we did.
right?
Yes,
Exactly.
yes,
So we
did.
have history with them. John Schneider,
Yes,
obviously.
they like us.
There's history there, and
We we gifted them a trip to the Super Bowl in 2015.
we have a lot of love for them, right?
Yeah.
We gave them.
They owe us for that one.
They do. So if they're going to give us anything, I think this is the opportunity to get those guys who probably, they're veteran. Well, DK's younger, but
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett's a veteran. DK is a guy who is a superstar player developing and wants to probably play with an elite quarterback, not in a rebuild, right? Like, these guys aren't rebuild players.
You know what's weird about Seattle? Why are they rebuilding with a 70-year-old head coach?
Good question.
What are they doing there?
You want to start a Seattle podcast?
Let's do it, dude.
What a nightmare that would be. You think this
Episode
situation's
1, why
bad?
we should trade DK Metcalf to the Packers.
Maybe we can get that going in Seattle. But yeah, I mean, it would make a lot of sense if we could go out and get a guy like that. And it would change our receiver room for sure. If we added DK, obviously not as good as Devontae, but MVS, see, it's pretty similar though. And then you add a second round pick. That's the interesting thing. I mean, it's tough. This is a really tough. I'm actually impressed with how difficult this is that I made it. The scenarios.
Yeah, it's
very
pretty
difficult.
tight. It's pretty tight.
It's very tight. Like, the second round pick may not make a difference, or maybe he could make a difference, but like
Devontae,
otherwise,
second round pick, 53rd overall.
that's true. But
Having
he didn't make
four
a difference
picks-
right away. We need a difference maker right away.
Yeah, Devontae did
So
do that,
you're
yeah.
talking about, like, it's basically going to be DK, MVS, Lazard, Cobb, and the second round pick. Hopefully he
let him
plays
wait,
decent,
yeah.
but he's going to probably be a developed guy.
It's like Amari.
This is not
No
better
impact.
than this is not enough, I feel like. Number 1. Number 2, Julio, I feel like if he recaptured some of his old form with combination of Will Fuller and potentially a first round pick, like that, I feel like that's too good to pass up. That could be 3 hits right there, when in this scenario, MVS is the guy who's returning. It's not anything new. It's not anything that's going to put us over the hump because he's been here.
I love MVS, man. As a
Yeah.
person, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel bad about always dogging on the guy. I
Yeah.
met him. He was a great guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just, I don't know. I just don't see a point in bringing him back, especially without Devontae. Like, I don't know.
It's tough. I mean,
It's time to go in a new direction. It's time to.
It is.
It's time to reset the entire wide receiver room. And
We need
it doesn't.
multiple
I don't know
guys.
if that's his plan. I don't even know if that's his plan, dude. My guess right now is that he's ready to roll in with Alan Lazard as wide receiver 2, at least.
That's really a losing
No,
recipe.
I don't like it, man. I don't like that at all.
I
What
thought
are we creating cap room for?
I didn't think we'd be having to do this receiver thing even more this year, like, because
No,
we've been
dude.
doing it every year, but now we're asking for more and more. Like, we have now gotten worse at receiver when we weren't in any position to do so. We lost our best player other than Rodgers, and
Yeah.
all we have to show for it is maybes. That's what I'm going to keep saying. We have 2 maybes. Let's turn those maybes into yeses by getting a guy like DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett or Keenan Allen or anybody who's willing to get on this football team and help us win games. I mean, we just need a lot of bodies now, and that includes like multiple guys. We need to make a first round pick a receiver, but I think we should also trade one of those first round picks or second round picks or a third round pick, whatever, to get legit guys. Like, pick your name. Like, just go through the rest of the league, especially when you talk about the AFC. There are guys out there on teams that aren't that good that we can go and grab and just put a good body on this roster. Give us multiple talented players.
Just make a couple phone calls. Granted, we have no idea to know if they're
Laviska
making phone
Shenault
calls.
from Jacksonville is another guy I
Oh,
would
that'd
like.
be fun, dude.
A lot of fun.
That'd be fun. But I don't think they. The problem with the young guys is that teams just aren't willing to move them as they are the
I heard he
veterans.
was available though. I
Laviska?
did. Yeah, because they signed a few guys in free agency. I
Yeah.
mean, Christian Kirk got $17 million a year.
Well, this time of year, dude.
He does a lot, dude. He does a lot of the same
Yeah.
stuff that Laviska could do, especially slot
Yeah.
stuff. I feel like he'd be a lot of fun in Green Bay.
That would be a lot of fun.
Like, that's
literally anyone would be a lot of fun.
What would you have to give up for him? A fifth? Like, come on, man. That's an easy move. If Robert Woods gets a sixth in 2023, you talk about a young player, but he's not much better, obviously, than
You're
Robert.
getting the contract with Robert, though.
That's true, but that's why maybe you give up a fourth or a fifth for Laviska.
Yeah, in 2022.
Exactly. That's this year. That's the sixth round pick in 2023 is like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Like, what even is that, really?
Yeah, you're not doing anything with that.
That's a UDFA you might like and want to grab. Like, that's literally not even a pick. So, it's not
literally not even a pick.
It's not a draft pick. So, but no, I feel like it just makes a lot of sense for us to give up one of those stupid picks that we've been hoarding, and just like we're willing to do it with Jordan Love. Had no problem moving up to get a quarterback that we're going to end up trading in a month probably, but. Wow, I hate this team. But,
we could end up looking really dumb if Brian does attack this position the way we think it needs to be attacked. But as of right now,
we've never seen anything like that from Brian. Ever.
Look at Cleveland, man. Look at Cleveland. So they traded for Amari Cooper. They traded for Deshaun Watson. They're in on they were in on Robert Woods. They're in on Will Fuller.
Jarvis Landry.
They cut Jarvis Landry. They're trying to bring him back on a cheaper deal. They've already got young receivers like Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like, I just want to see us attack the position like that, man. Like, we've got a 39-year-old quarterback. Can we attack the position and get some help around him?
I would love to see some of these guys that are just, like, on these outcasted teams. Like, it just makes a lot of sense. We are trying to win, no? Apparently not. We just traded our best player.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing.
What other team acts like this, man? Look around the NFL. Look at the past 2 Super Bowl winners. That's all you have to do. Why are we so stuck in our ways about this, man?
I don't know. The last 2 Super Bowl winners are teams that obviously we've had to play and, you know.
Who have built their teams through free agency.
And also have literally stacked receiving rooms.
Yes, the receiving rooms.
Tampa Bay's got
absurd.
4 All-Pros, and the Rams had OBJ
and Cooper Kupp. And they sign OBJ midseason. They don't even need him. Van Jefferson is a young guy.
Van Jefferson was a draft pick that we should have made. Like, those are the things that we didn't draft a receiver that year.
No, and they drafted Tutu Atwell last year too.
They just never stopped.
They don't even need these guys.
That was their only pick. And what did they do? They had their first pick was in the second round, and they drafted Tutu Atwell, and that was not a need.
No,
but you just add receivers because what is the trend? Add a bunch of receivers that can all play.
It's a passing league.
It's a passing league, and give this quarterback a lot of options so they don't get pigeonholed into throwing to one really, really talented guy.
Great term there, pigeonholed.
Great term, really good word. Not unwordable at all.
Yeah.
So go listen to the last podcast, but for that inside joke. But yeah,
couple inside jokes this podcast. Make sure you listen to the Devontae Immediate Reaction podcast.
Oh gosh,
you haven't. That was a lot of fun, and we didn't promote this one because it's kind of awkward. But we did a podcast before Devontae got traded, literally just before Devontae got traded. We uploaded that this morning. If you want to listen to that. But a lot of it's irrelevant. So, but anyways.
Yeah, I mean, just let's go. Final word here on the state of the franchise here. Let's just go attack this position like we just lost our best player. I mean, like let's attack it, right? Like, why don't we go and try to make a move here for a guy that would make sense. And let's not be slow about it either, like we just apparently did with Robert Woods.
Yeah.
Let's go be proactive. Go
what did
call
Fabiano
your team. Call your team about your best player. He said we moved too slowly. Green Bay was in, but moved too slowly.
Green Bay moved too slowly.
What a surprise. Why don't we go and make a call to just about every team in the league asking about their best receiver? That's what we go and do.
We have money, man.
Also, we couldn't get back Hunter Renfrow or Darren Waller or
I
anybody.
know, dude.
Even Brian Edwards. I loved Brian Edwards in 2020. We didn't draft a receiver that year. Instead, we drafted our quarterback of the never.
Gruden said he's young T.O.
How about that? You like that? Quarterback of the never?
That's pretty good, yeah.
I just made that up right now on the fly.
Not bad. Quarterback of the never.
I just made that up. That is good. Bad. How about my...
Let's get that in his bio.
That is great. That is such a good line I just came up with. And you saw my post with that picture of Jordan and Rodgers together.
Yes.
The present, the future, and Jordan Love. sour. But
What were we talking about?
The
Oh,
quarterback
Brian
of the
Edwards.
never. I'm not going to get over that for a while. That's a good line.
Or the Devontae trade, we couldn't, like, not even a receiver. We have other holes on the team. We couldn't get back a D lineman that
Or more than a
we
1 and a
liked.
2.
Like,
for the best
we
player
couldn't
in the
snag
league.
anything else, man. We couldn't get anything else. I mean, I know. It's not the worst trade in the world, compensation wise. It's not the Hopkins trade. But I don't know. We couldn't get someone. Come on, man. Come on. And we're not. This is the other thing. We're clearing up all this cap space. We're cutting our starting right tackle, for God knows why.
Great move in hindsight.
Why we need a tackle now.
I know.
Like,
Not only do we need a tackle, we need a tackle depth.
yeah, we
Before
need
then.
depth. Yes.
It's not
Elton
like
probably isn't going to be
we're not
ready.
swimming in O-line talent, let alone, like, come on here.
Why did we make that move?
So
It
we
makes
could get
no
$3 million
sense.
just to get $20 million more by trading our best offensive player. My goodness,
It
man.
doesn't make sense, dude. A lot of these deals, like Rodgers and Devondre, Rodgers is due $28 million, Devondre's due $4 million. Like all those contracts, Preston, these contracts are structured in a way that they're cheapest this year. They're going to be cheapest in 2022. It seems like this would be the year that we bring in the talent because we're going to have the extra cap space that we're not going to have, and we're not doing anything. It doesn't. Are we trying to win this year? Is this the all-in year? Because this doesn't feel like it's all in.
We do have time. We certainly have some time.
We have time, man.
The draft is going to be hot. I mean, like, that's when, no draft pick is more valuable than when it's the night of the draft and you have a player on the board that you want, right, or whatever the case is.
Right.
No draft pick is more valuable than on draft night.
When you see a quarterback who you think will be a great backup for 3 years.
You start to get emotional on draft night about players you want on your football team, and you're willing to give up a little more, Brian always told that great story about Clay Matthews where Ted was talking to the group and, what do you want to give up? What's the most you're willing to give up? And he goes, I want the player. And one of the guys asks, we don't want to oversell or anything here. And he goes, no, you guys don't understand. Ted goes, I want the player. And he traded back up into the first round to go get Clay Matthews after they selected B.J. Raji in that same draft. And it just tells you, like, the aggressiveness. Like, Brian knows when to be aggressive, and he knows, like...
When you see an average quarterback.
Yeah, go take him. Just go get him. Whatever it takes. Give up a 4th-round pick.
Justin Jefferson falling down the board.
No.
CeeDee Lamb falling. That's where anyone thought he'd be. No.
That's too much. No.
Come on. We got Devontae Adams.
Look at that one now.
Yeah.
Can't say that anymore, sadly. All right. This is sad. Really,
this is just sad.
We are
This
sitting
is
here.
sad. It sounds like is this podcast too complainy?
Well, what else do people want to hear? Us singing their praises?
Great
move, guys. Best player gone. Can't wait for this year.
I can't wait to see the moves that are made.
Brian, just trade Rodgers and that'll do it.
Bring on the love era. I mean,
Bring on the hate era. That's what this
Good
podcast is, apparently.
Yeah, it really is, man. I mean, I am excited to see, like, the moves. Like, the thing about the Adams trade, the good thing about it is that we get to make moves, and we have money now, and we have 4 picks in the top 60, which is really fun. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to make moves. It doesn't feel like we're going to. It's only been a few days, but I think I don't know what day it is. Like I said, I completely lost track of time since Bron got here. But it just feels like... It feels like Goody's going to say this is enough, and he trusts this team that has fallen short in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't... That's the problem. Who understands, how can you not understand that we have fallen short now 3 years in a row where we might have had, at least these last 2 years, we have certainly had the best team in football at times.
Yes.
With the best quarterback.
And the best
MVP,
receiver.
Best receiver.
Great coach.
We just had one of the best defenses in the NFL this past season that was injured and hurt. Supposed to have a great coach. We have a lot of things going for us here, and now we sit here Super Bowl-less with this current regime, and they are hoping or relying on this team that is now getting worse to be better. It just doesn't add up, and things are going to start falling apart pretty quickly if they do not quickly act by adding the talent necessary to mitigate the loss of the great Devontae Adams that now will not be as great.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. We'd like to thank you so much for listening and to make sure to subscribe on all platforms, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Today in Titletown. You can follow me on Instagram at All Day Packers. Almost called myself at Lambo Leapers. That's Bron at Lambo.Leapers. We're going to be back later this week at some point, maybe even tomorrow, I'm not sure, with a little bit more of a fun podcast. I don't think we're going to be... we're going to record it right after we're done here, so if there's any news, we're not going to be able to talk about it, sadly, but we're going to get some fun content in for the last of the in-person podcast. Bron's giving me a face. That's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Go Pack Go.
Thanks for listening, everybody. As always, go Pack Go.
Oh, we're done.